Peace, gratitude, and highest heart love. Welcome to this corner of YouTube where we read books and learn. We are reading The Healing Power of Water by Dr. Masaru Emoto. I'm your moderator and narrator, Uriel NEVEU. Welcome. So, we left off completion of chapter 8. So that was episode 11 of reading this book. So now we're at episode 12. And we will begin with chapter 9 today. Page 141. Peace, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, YouTube. Hi, it's Harlem. Here we go. Chapter 9. Listening to Water. By Miranda Alcott. Sharing water with the firefighters, EMTs, police officers, and chaplains at what was left of the World Trade Center after September 11th created some of the most sacred moments of my life. What brought us all together was a few simple bottles of water available at designated spots on the site. I wondered if anyone standing around the flats of bottled water in exhausted silence was aware of the healing properties of the liquid they were holding. They were replenishing what had been lost due to extreme stress in their already fatigued bodies. Were they drinking to quench their thirst or to put out their emotional flame? I'm a crisis responder, intuitive healer, and counselor with a master's degree in spiritual psychology. But most important, I'm a listener. Together with my service hearing, crisis intervention, canine whisper, in my daily practice, I work with people who are confronting some form of crisis in their lives. They may have deep issues, recent or sudden deaths in their family, exposure to mass critical incidents, diagnosis of terminal illness, and life direction decisions, or the simple yet overwhelming physical toll of everyday stress. Peace, everyone. Welcome to this part of YouTube. We are reading The Healing Power of Water. We're in chapter 9. Thank you for being here. My work allows me to experience many different energetics in places and with those I go to help. Many of the things I observe aren't visible to most people. I am able to experience, listen, and see energetic fields, colors, frequencies, and vibrations that most others aren't aware of. I do this by using what's currently referred to as holographic paradigm, which includes quanta or small groupings of energy. These groupings in turn make up atoms that resonate at individual frequencies, at an infinitesimal level of existence. Energetically, we are all part of the whole. But each atom's frequencies are so unique that every one of us carries a very individual energetic snowflake. What I experience are the different signatures that constitute the fields that permeate and surround each of us, and in fact, all living organisms. Some of these energetic nets of wave-like structures appear as diaphanous forms that make themselves visible to me in a floating manner. They can be created by many events: violent crime, a natural disaster, or simply by the laughter of children. Some result from simple tones of music, which put on a light show, the likes of which can only be rivaled by the aurora borealis. There are more complete examples in my soon to be published book, An Extraordinary Journey Through an Ordinary World. Other energies I see are those that are working 24/7 to keep our bodies running at top efficiency. Looking at these energetic forms and fields in combination with the energetic directives I receive allows me to access the information from which I work. Peace, guys. Highest heart love. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm the best. Oh, that's love. Thank you for reading with us. We love this book. We love all these books, right? Thank you for the support. Oh my goodness. That means so much. What I experience are the different signatures that constitute the fields that permeate and surround each of us, and in fact, all living organisms. Some of the energetic nets or of wave like structures appear. Oh, yeah, I already went there. Looking at these energetic forms and fields in combination with the energetic directives I receive allows me to access the information from which I work. My conscious association with water has been going on for quite some time. At 2.5 years old, I watched one morning as a pool of water reached up to help a bird rinse its feathers. And early in my life, I noticed that although most animals drank lots of water, there were some people who didn't drink much, if any. I didn't understand this, and for a very long time, I couldn't imagine refueling my body without water's presence. I watched water around these individuals, but didn't see any answers until years later in my private practice when I noticed that the people who spoke of the mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual abuses in their lives were the same ones who usually wouldn't open the bottle of water I offer at the beginning of each session. Mm, deep, right? In observing my clients' interactions with the water offered, I saw that there were some who accepted it as a social gesture, some who fondled it in contemplative moments, and some who drank the entire bottle as soon as they could get the top off. When I would ask how they felt about interacting with the water, each of them seemed to hold the belief that drinking, ingesting, or holding it at that moment somehow intensify their own issues. I also noticed that some would begin their distressing processes almost as soon as they were offered the water. From then on, I used water as an active participant when called out into the field for my crisis response work. One of my earliest experiences with water out in the field was during an emergency response at our local airport. I saw a woman in physical distress who had fields of faintly colored energy surrounding her body. These colors were rapidly fading in and out. The closer I got to her, the more I felt my blood sugar lower. She was holding a foam cup filled with what I assumed was juice, as the energies rolling off the surface of the cup were of a pale organic orange. As I got closer to her, I noticed that the cup was filled with water. How could water, which normally emits many colors, be emitting only one color? The woman's energetic field was so faint and mottled that I quickly called a nurse over. Later that afternoon, the nurse sought me out to tell me that the woman was a diabetic and had been experiencing a diabetic collapse. The water had been reflecting what she needed earlier: orange juice. Isn't this good? Oh my gosh, thank you. Much love. Oh, much love. Page 143 down here at the bottom, okay? 143. I love you. Water as a healer. The effects of water's presence in our lives are so obvious that many of us take them for granted. Yet we've all noticed how excited children become when they interact with this substance. It also has its own character. Have you ever noticed when entertaining an empty room that if there's a pitcher of water in it, you don't feel alone? We take water with us everywhere these days. When we're hiking or exercising, we carry bottles of it for regeneration and rejuvenation. We're created in water, bathe in it, cleanse wounds with it, and can die when we don't have enough of it. With roughly two-thirds of our planet covered by water and our bodies containing similar proportions of it, is it any wonder that it's such an amazing conduit for our thoughts, energies, and healing? Nature provides so many ways for us to live more easily if we can only be more sensitive to what surrounds us, and animals can be such great teachers for all of us. Recently, I stood in the high mountains of New Mexico while the lightning filled charcoal clouds announced a coming storm. As the ions increased, I watched a beautiful coal black stallion prancing to discharge the intensity of the electromagnetic energy. He did this by tossing his head, arching his tail, and bucking himself off the ground, breaking the buildup of static electricity. He instinctively knew what he needed to do in order to release the accumulation of the converging energies. When the rain clouds broke, he calmed, and water soothed his body. I believe that we have a primordial relationship with water as our earliest parent, one of the life forces from which we sprang. It can be so comforting while also having an uncanny ability to reflect emotions. The reason for this, as I understand it, is that thoughts are energy, which create vibrations. These can have color and distinct forms, all of which I see. There are also more hues than we perceive with our eyes, including what I call colorless colors. When water is healthy, I experience it as glowing liquid light that hums. Vibrations give me information, and once I have that, I wait for an energy flow or energetic directive to see how I'm supposed to help. As a listener, I naturally pay attention to most beings. In April 2003, my service dog, Whisper, reacted very strongly to the photographs of water crystals that Dr. Emoto was displaying during one of his presentations in Los Angeles. She reacted to both his crystal images and to the vibrations of his tuning fork. Whisper is a healer in her own right, and she was deeply affected by the communication that she saw in Dr. Emoto's pictures. Her reaction was one of surprise as she looked at the huge images displayed on the screen. I watched her as she stared at each slide, appearing to communicate with some of the images. At one in particular, she sat upright and was visibly moved. I was deeply touched by the photographs, and it occurred to me then After so many years of working with water, how patient it is with us all. Dr. Emoto gave me his card, and when Whisper and I saw him speak once again in Santa Fe several months later, he asked us to participate in his next book. We were thrilled. The following December, Dr. Emoto came to one of my evening intuitive presentations. I asked anyone wishing to work with me to choose one of the bowls of water located in the back of the room. They were instructed to place their most pressing issues or question in thought form into the kindness of the water. A red haired woman of about 35 gave me her first name, handed me her bowl of water, and stood off to my side, motionless. After a few moments, the vibrational patterns and colors in the water became apparent to me. I watched as its energetic field made clear what she needed to know. The surface of the liquid was acting like a screen, reflecting her inner confusion, deep fear, and physical illness. I could see by looking at the energy surrounding her body that this physical illness was manifesting itself as tension in her musculoskeletal system, bones, muscles, and joints. As I worked with her non-verbally, I could see that the energy, colors, and vibrations emanating from her body were becoming more vibrant. I then verbally relayed to her what was taking place currently in her life. As I spoke to her about how she could dispel her physical issues, she and the water began to take on more of each other's properties, appearing more and more similar. A woman and a bowl of water, which had started as two distinctive elements, were now experiencing an energetic exchange. Being hearing impaired, I use a sign interpreter. With the lights in my eyes, I couldn't see the woman's face, so I looked at my interpreter to see if she had any questions or needed to say anything. My interpreter had no signs for me, so I continued. I saw that the woman's body was wrapped in fields of fearful emotional energies. They were encasing her chest area and causing some restrictive breathing patterns. In checking for any kind of genetic illness, I saw that the tightness in her chest came from a current emotional situation, which was the cause of her fear. Happily, she remained receptive for the entire time I worked with her, and I could see the colors and energy surrounding her body shifting. Simultaneously, so were the energies and colors of the bowl of water. Her innate self altering processes were affecting the water inside her body, which in turn was resonating with the water in the bowl. Even though she was no longer physically holding the bowl, they were inextricably connected. The water revealed that her life would be taking a new direction and that her deep fear of this change was contributing to her physical illness. I let her know that it was imperative that she understand that her illness was very possibly of her own creation. She thanked me and wept as she returned to her seat. Steve. We're at the middle of page 146, guys. Highest heart love. Thank you so much for reading with us. Happy Saturday, Divine Rising. Yes, we get some of this peace. This is what we do. Several weeks later, I crossed paths with the woman again. She told me that she'd always been unable to deal with stress and had recently been hired for a new job and was feeling very uncertain if it would end up taking over her life. She said that after I worked with her, The pain in her joints had stopped, and the tension in the rest of her body had been released. She told me that ever since that night, she has never looked at water in the same way. At another one of my evening presentations, a man in his late 40s came and stood next to me in silence and handed me his bowl of water. What I saw in it was that he wanted to know what was wrong with his health. I could see that he was incredibly tense, with the ruddy fields of opaque energy, which pointed to his health condition possibly being chronic. When I suggested that spending time floating in water might help him, the look on his face was one of disdain as he returned to his seat. Several months later, in a local market, his wife introduced herself and told me how grateful she was that they'd come that evening. She said her husband had been going to the doctors who prescribed several medications and told him that unless he took them, he'd become very sick. The man hadn't listened to them and hadn't taken the drugs, although he was fairly certain that water couldn't help him in any way either. His wife told me that after my presentation, he'd gone home and spent considerably more time floating in their pool. A few months later, when he went for his next medical appointment, the doctor was pleased to see that his blood pressure had dropped significantly and commended him on finally taking the prescribed medication. As his wife tells it, her husband just laughed and said, "Actually, all I did was float in water." I love that. Yes, natural healing. I love it. The floating man and the union between the red haired woman and the small bowl of water reminded me of the small bottles of water in the large hands of those men at Ground Zero. But what was the water actually doing for the people at Ground Zero? Watching as they used it to rinse the dust from their masks and the grime from their eyes and tilted their heads back to take a drink, I saw that each of them went into a place that was soothing for them, whether that was a precious memory of their family, a special vacation, or their kids' faces. Water had become a portal to a rare moment of reprieve from the horrific surroundings. Taking a simple drink had created a sacred moment with a great healing. Exercise to facilitate listening to water. The bottom of page 147. If you'd like to connect with the healing power of water, just sit quietly for a moment and hear its sound. In your mind's eye, see a form of water that you enjoy experiencing: a breezy mountain, lake, a reflection of fall leaves in a puddle, a large rushing river, a beautiful city fountain, a salty ocean, a desert monsoon sky, or a high mountain snow pool. Watch these images in your head. Can you feel the changes inside you as the water in your body recognizes the version of the water that you are seeing? What are you physically experiencing as these elements resonate with each other? Is the rhythm of your body altering slightly? In your stillness, what can you hear water telling you? Become quiet and still and allow your entire body to listen to its whispers. Whatever it has told you is very powerful guidance. What you do with this wisdom depends on what your commitment to your life is. Once you've received your gift, You'll continue to hear the flow of water as it gently takes a place in your heart. Don't be surprised if your dreams also bring you healing messages from water. And that concludes chapter 9. That's the completion of page 148 and chapter 9. We will move on to chapter 10 when we come back with the healing power of water by Dr. Masaru Emoto. I'm your moderator and narrator. Highest heart, love, and honor. We did it again. Peace, guys. I want you to have a wonderful day. I wish the best for all of us. I wish love, healing, peace for all of us. Highest heart, love, guys. Thank you so much. Oh, man. You guys really rock. Remember, be kind to someone today. Take a walk, look up, see what energy you get from that. Where that spiritual guidance is coming from and where it's sending. Man, so peaceful, right? Yes! Thank you! Thank you for the peace. I'm your moderator and narrator. Highest heart, love, and honor to all of us. I wish the best for all of us, guys. Thank you so much for reading with us. Love. Love, awesome. Thank you. Peace, peace.